So everyone in the room that is a founder, could you please just raise your hands real quick? Okay, maybe then investors in the room? Okay, few investors, and then ecosystem builders, something else? Okay, that's pretty good, because I'm trying to make the talk as interesting as possible for all of you. And I'm trying to also share my experience of building multiple products, selling companies, and all of that. And yeah, let's jump in. So why am I actually on this stage? So as you can see on the left, I have been building stuff all my life, basically. I started off when I was smaller with Lego, with Playmobil and everything. And then at some point, I switched over to building actual companies. And I started when I was 13 years old, selling web design, selling web development. And I thought already, hey, it's amazing. I can get money for something that I would actually do for free, because it was so much fun. And to this day, I would say I've never worked a day in my life, because I would do it for free. This is what gives me energy. And I was just recently doing a LinkedIn post, actually, about all the projects that I've worked on over the last 20 years. And you can see it on the right side, and then you see some check marks, some red X in there. So you can see I tried a lot of things. Most of them failed. A lot of them were pretty successful. Some of them are still ongoing. But overall, the most important message is, out of all of these projects, I was learning a lot for myself. And now, for every new venture that I'm doing, I'm equipped with the knowledge that I need to actually succeed. And if I look at the last 10 years, there are 3 big areas or personas that I was working in. So the first persona is Max as a co-founder. So I started off in education, was building a company called StudyHelp. We were scaling to over 120 cities in Germany and Austria. We had 1 million users on our online platform, and it was quite a wild ride, because at the beginning we were bootstrapping, then we got an offer from a private equity firm, turned it down, raised VC money instead, and then burned through all of the money, realizing, oh shit, we don't have a VC scalable business model in the first place. So needed to turn the company around, and this was the first big lesson for me also. Then after I left StudyHelp, I founded a couple of other companies, and I started to invest. So I got so curious about investing in companies and how it works on the other side of the table, that I think right now the portfolio is around 30 companies, and some of them successful, some of them not so successful. And it's quite a journey also, because for each investment that I was doing, I was learning so much from the founders that I was also investing in. And now the third area, and this is what I'm doing right now, Wizard Ventures, our venture studio / internet holding, where we are actually very hands-on building companies ourselves. And as you can see here on the right side also, it is already quite a broad portfolio of companies. Some of them we also already exited. And yeah, I want to take all of these lessons basically from building Wizard Ventures, and always seeing the stage from 0 to 1, but then also from 1 to 10, and share some of these lessons. And when I was preparing this presentation, I was actually going through my iPhone notes, because I have notes in there, and every single time I realize something about building businesses, I am actually writing it down. And this notes list has become super huge over the last 10 years. So there are like 100 lessons or something in there. And for every new venture, I'm trying to live by these lessons, but it almost never works. And I'm making the same mistakes over and over again. So today I will bring you a couple of those lessons that you can then implement. And I will actually use real examples from the companies that we were building. So bonus lesson 0. Competition is not bad per se. So when I'm talking to a lot of founders in the early stage, they are always like, okay, we will create this new market. Our product is super unique. There is no competition in place. And okay, it's a fair point, but also sometimes competition can be super good. If we look back around 3 years or something, we had a big issue in Wizard Ventures. We already had a bunch of companies that were profitable, but they were not generating enough cash for us to hire very good talent on the holding level. And back then we were thinking, oh shit, what will we do? And actually my co-founder came across a business model in the US that's called design subscription service. And there was one guy specifically, he was claiming, hey, I make $1.4 million per year doing it alone. But on the other side, there was also a company called Supersite. They raised 30 million, are selling to enterprise. And it's a very, very crowded market, actually, because if you are also looking at graphic design agencies in general, I think the number is like 450,000 worldwide. So who would create a company in that space, actually? But we did it anyways and realized something very, very interesting. If the space is super, super crowded, that means there's also a lot of stuff to gain and a lot of market share to get. So we created Magia, our design subscription company, focused on B2B companies, mostly Series A, Series B, Series C, marketing teams that need support with their visuals. And we created the company, and probably of all the companies that I have done, it had the strongest product market fit right away. First 5 clients in the first week, we didn't have a single designer. And since then, we were scaling the company to over $5 million in revenue, 42 team members now, and over 200 clients. Everything bootstrapped. And this in the course of 3 years now, actually. And this is the perfect example that enabled to build a good business. It's okay to have competition, and sometimes it's okay also to jump into crowded markets in the first place. Lesson number 1 now. Distribution is more important than product. Another example from my journey. So we were working on a software company a couple of years back. It was called Toner. It was a competitor monitoring SaaS. And we had this idea to create this super fancy SaaS product. We were working on the UI for half a year. We were making sure everything is pixel perfect. And it was fun to do it because we were sitting together. We were envisioning the product ourselves. And then we were launching the product and realized no one wants to buy the product in the first place. And also we didn't have a proper distribution in place. So we didn't know how to market. We didn't know how to do sales, and realized that with 4 people, we were spending over 6 months just working on the product and not a single time on the distribution, actually. And this is the worst mistake of all. And I can just encourage you, whenever you work on your company, spend at least as much time on the distribution as you spend on the product itself. And best case, if you are a founding team, there's even one founder that is absolutely crazy about selling the stuff even before it exists. And then there can be the product-focused founders. But if I need to choose between the two, I would always pick the one that is purely focused on selling. Lesson number 2 is learn to say no. So this is also a good one. Most of us entrepreneurs, we have unlimited amount of ideas for new businesses, for new marketing campaigns, for stuff we want to change on our website, on our product. And it's super, super hard to say no and just focus on a small amount of things. One example from our end, a big failure. So with Magia, we had this design subscription service. And we thought, okay, to scale Magia, there's 2 things that we actually need. We need clients that need to design, and we need designers that can actually execute the work. So why not create a design job board? A design job board where we are actually curating open positions at companies. So let's imagine Podim is hiring a graphic designer. We would scrape this, have it on our platform, so we know who's hiring at the moment. And then on the other side, we would also obviously have the designers that are going to design jobs because they want to find new jobs. So our own like hiring and pipeline problem solved. And in theory, this was a very, very good idea. But in reality, we realized every single project or initiative that we wanted to execute deserves a crazy amount of time and effort to make it successful. There is no project or initiative that you will just put out there and then it will work on its own. And it was the same for design jobs. It was easy for us to put the website, everything live, but if there are no people coming to the website, then it's absolutely useless. And for us, this was a big loss because we spent a lot of time on it. Number 3, don't compare yourself. This is also a super, super good one. I mean, not comparing yourself to someone else is generally very, very important, I guess, but specifically in the business context. Because imagine you are starting out as a company and maybe you are building a CRM. And now you are looking at the CRM solutions that are already in the market. You look at a HubSpot, Ettio, Salesforce, and specifically let's say you are looking at a HubSpot, you realize, look, they are doing podcasts, they are doing paid ads, they are doing webinars. So all these initiatives. And now you actually start comparing yourselves to these companies that are 20 years old. I just mapped out as an example the marketing funnel of Webflow here. And what I just wanted to show is there are like 50, 60 different initiatives that they are running. So how will you compete as a startup with like 1 or 2 marketers with 50 different initiatives? So what I want to say with that is just pick 1 or 2 initiatives, do it well, and that's good enough for the start, and don't fall into the trap of comparing yourself in year 1 of your company with a different company in year 20 of their life cycle. It doesn't make sense, and you can't win this challenge. Number 4, so each channel can work. What do I mean by that? So if you are thinking about B2B, there's many ways you can actually sell your stuff. You can do direct sales, you can do SEO, you can do paid acquisition. And my deep belief is, from my experience, for almost every single product and service, you can make any channel work. It's just important that you pick a small number of channels and then really dive deep to make them work. So sometimes if I'm getting pitch decks, there's the go-to-market slide or something, and founders put down every single channel that they can imagine. And this shows me, okay, they haven't thought it through, because how will you execute it with the limited resources that you have? 2 or 3 examples for channels that work pretty well for us. So a couple of years back, we were running a venture capital job board called Startup and VC. Business model was simple. The VCs were paying us to list their jobs, and sometimes we could also place some of the candidates in very interesting roles, and this is how we made money. And to promote Startup and VC, we started with Instagram on the right side. So Instagram, most of the time, not the channel that most people would pick for B2B stuff, but here it was quite interesting because we were constantly putting content out there that is interesting for the venture capital ecosystem, for both investors, but also for people that are interested in working in venture capital. So it was content about recent funding rounds, what are some interesting statistics about new markets and everything. And from this Instagram channel, we were then moving over the traffic into our newsletter, onto our website, and that worked out super well. Of course, with Instagram, and this is the same with every channel, it won't work right away if you're doing the first 2-3 posts. So here, it took us, half a year, 1 year to really get into the mode that everything worked out well, and then you see the effects. Later on, we added something interesting on top of this, and that was SEO. Because what we realized was that a lot of job boards and also venture capital firms that are posting their jobs, they are not very good at SEO and optimizing their listings. So what we were basically doing is we were pushing all of our jobs also to Google. And for most of the jobs, we were ranking even above the venture capital firms themselves with our website. And that was super good, because then we were getting a lot of clicks from that. And that helped us grow the business in the first place. 2 examples from Magia, our design subscription service. So first 25 customers or something we just got through custom Loom video outreach. Loom video outreach, so we were looking for companies that could be interested in it. We're doing a custom outreach with the Loom video. And also there, the first 50 videos that I did, we didn't get a single sale. But I improved all the time, and then ultimately sold some stuff, and it was a very good kickstart. Later on in the process, we added something on top that we call freebies. So we were doing a lot of like LinkedIn content, and I will talk about this in just a bit, but just want to illustrate here, pick your channel that you really like to do, and then focus on making it work. And making it work is also something very important for number 5 here. So find your genius zone as a founder, as a marketer, as someone that is working in a tech company. So genius zone, what I mean with that is you want to find something that you are super good at, that you enjoy doing, and what the world needs. Of course, you can also think about this in a broader sense for your product or service itself, but I think about this also in terms of marketing channels, for example. Back in the days, I was super good, I guess, at building mini tools as a traffic generator. People liked it also, and it helped us then also grow our products. So this is one example. Back then, we had a company where we were selling digital products, pitch deck templates, financial model templates, and I thought, okay, most people that are interested in this also want to get inspiration from how other people are pitching their companies. So I was building a mini website, Pitch Deck Hunt. I was putting all these pitch decks on there so that you can browse through them and get some inspiration for yourself. And for me, this was less than half a day work. It was fun for me to do, and best case also, people loved it. So you can see here in the traffic, it got like in the first year 1.2 million page visits or something. It got us 800 backlinks and was generating 6-figure revenue for our pitch deck business. And that's a really cool thing because it felt easy for me to do it. And then you also are creating some very cool stuff. And now, number 6, the last one, learn from others and adapt. So for everyone that was already listening to my talk yesterday, I really believe in mentorship and learning from others. And we are doing the same stuff for each of our companies. So this is a screenshot from a company called Cold IQ, and they are very active on LinkedIn, basically posting content. And as you can see, it's different accounts posting this content. And there's a different framing for this strategy. Some call it employee-generated content, founder-led content. And they were not pioneering it, but there was another company before that was doing it called Lemlist. And I saw how crazy this was growing before on LinkedIn. So we implemented a similar strategy for Magia when we created the company. So I started to post on my account, but then we also had a handful of team members that started posting. And for Magia, our design subscription service, this was the #1 sales channel. And still to this day is the #1 sales channel. You can see there in the impressions, it was in the last year, I think, 7-8 million impressions that we got for free on LinkedIn, all using a strategy that we didn't invent ourselves. We just adapted something that someone else was already doing. And you can do this all the time. That's the cool thing about the internet. You can just check out what other people are doing, and it doesn't need to be from the same industry. It can be a totally different industry, and you can adapt it for your own needs and make it a success story. And the cool thing is, then you don't make as many mistakes as if you always try to reinvent the wheel. So, if you just take one message from today, from my talk, I think it's say no to shiny things, especially comparing yourself to others and companies that are already further ahead. And second up, focus on selling your stuff before you're actually building the stuff. Thank you so much. Everyone that wants to follow the journey, I'm also doing a lot of content on YouTube, LinkedIn. Feel free to scan the QR code, and really appreciate you guys for joining the talk today.